Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast with Benji Naesen. It's the Brown Pants preview. AG2R Citroën 2022 review their better 2021 season as compared to 2020. They brought on, as you'll remember, the Citroën have come on board, and instead they were previously AG2R, which is, I think, French bank. Citroën, obviously a global car company, and I think they brought with them a little bit of extra budget. Go through their victories, transfers, what we think their team should be, and some hot takes, of course, for this team, which is one of my little favourites now, Benji, because they picked up O'Connor.
Wow.
Well, because they picked up O'Connor after, every rider on NTT or Quebecer, like, it was dicey for them career-wise, or contract-wise, and just like Bahrain picked up Mater, they picked up O'Connor, and honestly, one of the signings of the year in terms of value received for what they must have been paying him initially. Obviously, he's renegotiated now on a longer deal with AG2R Citroën, but he was their top point scorer in 2021, came fourth in the Tour de France, won a Tour de France stage. They were not banking on, there's no way they were banking on top five TDF with Bardet leaving. So how do you rate the season? I mean, with 4 World Tour wins, one in each of the Grand Tours, plus Kosnefroy getting his first World Tour win and a one-day win at Bretagne, which is important for them, that race. How would you rate it?
I think it's divided. I think their Grand Tour adventures are relatively successful. They got a stage win at each Grand Tour. They got that 4th spot in the Tour de France, which is gigantic for a team like this. Obviously, getting a podium would be much better, but since they weren't really banking on that top 4, in my opinion, as well, I don't think they were too unhappy with that 4th place not being a 3rd place. Now, when it comes to the rest of the season, that's where I think it is slightly lacking at the start of the season. I feel like for the cobbles team they do not win cobble races. And that is an issue. Now, should a team be happy with a 3rd place at a Ronde van Vlaanderen, for example, with Van Avermaet and also with Oliver Naesen in the squad? On one end, I think yes, because I don't think you can achieve much more at the Tour of Flanders with those 2 riders. Now, I have a hard time figuring out if they should be happy or not with their cobble season. I feel like they should be more happy if they win a race.
I know, and Van Avermaet was not really in contention to win Flanders. That being said, he started to ride for 3rd, and he got 3rd, and that's also a lot of points for this team, which is safe from a points perspective from relegation. If they'd repeated their 2020 year, they would be in big trouble. But luckily, even GVA down year basically scored 1,000 points because he's still like Flanders, that's 325 points, 3rd there. And yeah, 6th at E3, 7th at Dwaalsdoor, 8th at Kerner. I mean, I'm not surprised, Benji. When they signed him, I don't think either of us thought they're going to be getting 2017 GVA. So, did he even underperform that much? I don't really think he did in the classics.
I don't think he did either. I think that thinking he can beat the likes of Van der Poel and Van Aert and so forth in those races and an Asgreen is thinking too far. We were expecting those riders to be better in the global season, and that happened. And as a consequence, this team, despite having a relatively strong cobble squad with Oliver Naesen and Van Avermaet and surrounding riders like Stan de Wolf, for example, it didn't really bring something forward. And that's, I think, the issue I have with the focus having completely shifted to cobble, despite accidentally getting a 4th spot in the Tour de France, which is obviously against that motive. At the start of the season last year, we said their focus shifted completely to cobble, right? And if they didn't have that Tour de France 4th spot, then I would be looking at this season a lot more desperately.
I think another thing with GVA is his climbing seems to be what's declined. Compare 2019 with 2020 and 2021. 2019 he won Montreal, 3rd in Quebec, 2nd at Classica San Sebastian, and even at the Tour de France, remember this guy can win hilly Tour de France stages, even medium mountain Tour de France stages in the past. That's just not there anymore. And as Benji said, if you base your whole season around, and Bob Jungels had health issues as well from memory, but yeah, if it's based around Van Avermaet, Jungels, Naesen, they'd probably be wanting a better return or to be consistently on the podium at least.
I think that they also have the aspect of riders that were injured and had causes for being sidelined for a long period of time. Cosnefroy at the start of the season had to delay the start of the season for a bit. I think he was supposed to start at Bessèges or something, but then started off later and wasn't really in form the way he wanted to be at the Hill Classics. He still had relatively decent results, but we are expecting better stuff from him at the Hill Classics. For example, last year his Hill Classics period was better, so that's what I'm looking at. He even got 18th in LBL last year. Well, 2020 being last year in this sentence because I'm still in the wrong year apparently. His 2020 LBL he punctured and still got 18th. So that kind of stuff we didn't see that from him this year in that Hill Classics because of that delay, because of that knee injury. When it comes to young goals, he's been sidelined a lot. I think he had something, a head injury or something like that. I don't know the exact specifications. I'm not a doctor and I'm not planning to become one. But I hope that we can see young goals back in a decent form and see him back on the road in competition in the coming year.
I think there's riders that underperformed, improved, and as well, like Clement Venturini, who's been on AG2R for a while. He's on Covidus before. He seems to be this rider who I keep expecting he's gonna win a Ulysses reduced bunch sprint just one of these days at World Tour level, but he doesn't. Like he hasn't won since 2018, and his results weren't good this year, and he's 28 years old now. Conversely, go to the other Clement Champoussin, fan favourite. 23 years old, fantastic year. Before he turned 23, he was fourth at Trofeo Laguelia, mixing up with the big boys, Mollema, Bernal, and Germay, second at Fournardèche, and then we can't forget, obviously, his brilliant Vuelta stage win. But he was good, he was quite good at like Luxembourg, where Almeida was there, at Tour de l'Ain on GC. He seems to be developing really nicely, and yeah.
Also, Aurélien Paré-Peintre also had a good season, although an interesting one, because he seems to have completely chosen for the GC route, which I would be doubtful about. I would have loved to see him aim for a stage win here or there instead of going straight up for GC in the majority of races, because in the Tour de France he got 15th. He was in support of O'Connor.
No, he wasn't. He was riding 100% for his own GC.
Okay. Well, that's a bummer, isn't it?
Well, no, I'm just saying the 15th was riding 100% for GC, pretty much.
Okay. Now, in all honesty, I would have loved to see him go for a stage win instead, then have him focus completely on GC in that race, and also in like Dauphiné getting 13th and so forth. It shows that he can do it, and in the Hill Classic, it shows that he can do it when he gets 18th, 23rd, and 33rd. I think he has potential to grow even more, but I don't know. I like seeing a climbing prospect win a Grand Tour stage before they try Grand Tour GC.
He's 25. He's not that young anymore. He's been World Tour since middle of 2018. He's not. He just ain't it for World Tour GC, and he should focus on his first race of the year, GP Cycliste La Marseillaise. He won ahead of. It was quite a nice little race actually, ahead of Coquard and Wellens, and Wellens in January is next level. So he, as Benji was alluding to, should focus maybe on the one days a little bit more, or going in breaks, because he definitely has it. He won a sprint there. He's quite fast. But yeah, I think 25. I mean, he's not old, but yeah, O'Connor's the GC man, I think. Otherwise, yeah, they're missing some .pro wins here and there. They're missing like a Paris Tour or some .pro French races like a Fournardèche,
Bernardrome. Like, we talk about Venturini for those 1.1 races and so forth, but I feel like they're missing that outsider sprinter. We spoke about Movistar when they had Max Kanter signed up in that team. Now, I'm not saying that this team should have gotten Max Kanter, but a rider a bit above that level or similar to that level as a outsider sprinter in races can deliver wins in races in France or outsider positions in races in France and so forth. And right now they don't really have that. And I feel like the likes of Vendrame and the likes of Vendrame has grown out of that role. I feel like he's not really supposed to be the guy that's sprinting in 1.1 races in France all the time. And I think Venturini is their only candidate on their team to do that, right?
Marc Sarraut. So he came over from FDJ.
Oh yeah,
in 2021.
I haven't seen him this year though.
I know he was okay at like Circuit de Voligny second, but then I think he must have crashed out of Tour Poitou-Charentes in
Yeah.
Nouvelle-Aquitaine. But yeah, 28, he's like a pro Conti sprinter. He's won like Cholet de la Loire, Tour de Vendée. But in terms of going up a level, they're a World Tour team. They have no World Tour sprinter, bunch sprinter.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's enough on their 2021 season. I think it had some unexpected highs, a little bit disappointing, but they also had injuries early with Cosnefroy, Jungels, etc. A word on our show partner, Locol, who produce performance cycling apparel. Winter is heavily upon us, so if you want to get any winter kit, Locol have you covered, as well as a new winter training kit for indoor riding to keep you cool on those indoor rides, which is something I've always had a problem with. So if you want to check out Locol, it's at locol.cc. They have you covered for all your kit needs, indoor and outdoor, for winter. Going to their transfers, where I don't think they'll really miss any of these riders. We have Matthias Frank, Ben Gaspar, and Julien Duval retiring. I think Matthias Frank retired mid-year. You remember he was in that break in UAE with on the Hafid or Joel Jai stage.
Yeah.
He'd never been in a break his whole career. So I think the only thing I remember, Francois Bidard to Cofidis, it's fine. Alexis Goujard to BNB, it's fine. Tony Galopin to Trek, that's fine too. So I don't think they're missing anything going out the door unless you disagree.
I don't think they're missing anyone really either. I think I like the good old Matthias Frank, but obviously he has to retire at some point, and he decided to do it at this point. And he had been going down in form throughout the last couple of years, but I'll keep his victories in the past in my mind because I love that guy a few years ago. Anyway, when it comes to riders coming in, it's actually it's a pretty dry transfer season for AG2R compared to all the other teams we've had so far. We've got 3 youngsters coming in and 1 rider that's also kind of a youngster but comes from a World Tour team. So Felix Gall is that World Tour rider coming over, comes from DSM, wasn't very happy there the way he left, it seemed. But when it comes to the rider that he is, he feels like a climber, and he does so mainly without great time trials based on what I can view throughout his results so far. I remember him doing an attack in Dauphiné at some point in the stage where
Brenner attacked.
yeah, where Brenner attacked as well.
Yeah.
And those were some really stupid attacks, so I hope it was the team, DSM, that said he should attack at that point, because that was going nowhere. Anyway, I think this is a good enough climber to support people in the mountains. I don't see him winning anything instantly, but you never know. What do you expect from a guy like this, 23 years old?
Not much. Yeah, domestique, 23, not have your DSM, maybe gets a buff from leaving. But yeah, he won a race ahead of like Valter in 2019 when he was 21 or so. But yeah, not expecting too much. But the other signings, as Benji said, they've not sprung for stars. They're still building, which I quite like to see. So the first, there's 3 French riders they've signed, all of whom are under 23. First one, Antoine Ragel. He came 3rd at Paris-Troyes. This year, he looks like a, I don't know, he looks like kind of a misc climber, like a one day.
I feel like he's kind of sprinty in the results that he got in L'Avenir, because he got top 10 positions in sprints there.
True.
That's how I see that. But yeah, perhaps it's a bit of a more versatile sprinter then. Also got 24th in Trobro Leon, right?
Yeah,
Is that
so
right?
he seems like just one of these French, like Barguil, Benji. Like Barguil can rip out a top 5 at Trobro, no problem. He just seems like that sort of rider. I can't wait to see him in like Marseillais, Bernard Jerome, Fournadesh, Laguelia. I think we'll see him there straight away in the next couple of months. But no huge results of note. But the Tour de l'Avenir, yeah, seems quite quick, given that I think MVDB, the new MVDB, Maren Vandenberg, was there. Paul Lepera, 21, he looks like he's got the most upside. He's looks like a one-day climber again. He won Baby Lombardia, which I think Baggioli won a couple of years ago. Decent race at the end of the season. Under 23 French national champs, came 6th. Won another Italian one day, I think the U23 version of GP Industria Artigianato at the start of the year. So he, again, same thing, Benji. I think he'll be going with Champoussin and some others to those hilly races.
Yeah, I think so as well. And then we've got the final rider, Valentin Paré-Peintre, who's also renowned to be a family of Aurélien Paré-Peintre. But he didn't come on the team solely for being the family of Paris Panthre thing, because he's actually got some decent results throughout the year. Got 4th in Paris Tour Espoir. That's behind the likes of Marijn Vandenberg once again. Also, Wiedeberg, who won that race, the guy that came from X to DSM most recently. He got top 10 positions at the likes of Ronde de Lizard on an uphill drag finish, it seemed. So he's got a bit of a kick, it seems, a versatile kick, and he can get over decent climbs, because then we look at the first stage of Savoie Mont Blanc, and he is third after Santiago Umba, pretty talented climbing guy on Androni Giocattoli. It's a flatter finish that they finished on, but he got away with those guys on the climb. So, yeah, he seems to be a pretty versatile rider, and we will see throughout the coming period what type of rider he flows into, it seems. So they focused on the youngsters, that's for sure. But I wanted to talk about some kind of development thing they have going on, which is that they've got this U19 team, they've got a U23 team. They had a very talented youngster in their U19 team, Romain Grégoire, who was riding against Jan Uiterbroeks and all those Otto Eder Bayer riders. That's the dev team basically behind Bora. And we see that he was beating the likes of Jan Uiterbroeks quite a few times throughout the season. And then instead of going to the AG2R U23 team, he gets rolled into a transfer, by his choice most likely, towards the Groupama U23 team. I think that's a big loss for a team like AG2R when their youngsters are leaving for the other U23 team.
Yeah, I think the FDJ Conti team is producing World Tour riders at a rate of knots that it's hard to compete with. Although I don't know why he's gone. But yeah, they are still signing decent young riders. But yeah, I don't know. That's always the problem with these smaller, the dev teams rather, is the riders getting poached. We just saw Finn Fisher Black get poached from Jumbo Visma. It's like, how do you combat that? And the answer is there's the Jumbo rider who's signed till like 2026 with 3 years at U23.
Still unlimited.
Yeah, 3 years at World Tour. Like, you have to take big risks then if you want to keep riders. And it's hard to know whether a 19-year-old where they're going to be at 23 years old. But that's the AG2R's transfers. I mean, who is available that they could have signed to maybe shore up their classics, Benji? Or they've already invested too much in classics. Who's a Mountain Domestique they could have signed for O'Connor? Like, what else should they have done? I think they've got their leaders, though. They've got Cosnefroy for...
They could have gotten back Pozzo Vivo.
To do what?
To Domestique for O'Connor, mate. Come on.
I don't see that. Like, I guess they got their leaders. Cosnefroy for Ardennes, O'Connor for Tour, GVA and Co. for Classics, and then Vendrame, Venturini and others, Champoussin, all developing for Hilly One Days and Italian Classics and stages. So, yeah, I guess it's just they're missing. That's what they're missing, I guess, is some Mountain Domestiques, and no one really comes to mind.
Feel like I'm missing a long-term goal in this team, because these cobble riders, they're not the youngest riders in the squad. So their focus on cobble classics in 5 years will probably be done for if they don't rekindle that somehow. And then I'm looking at the rest of the squad and I'm like, what will their focus be if that turns out to be, if, for example, Stan de Wolf ends up being their leader and he doesn't reach the top level of cobble classics, what do we expect the other part of the team to be then that they will end up focusing on? I'm missing that aspect.
Yeah, they don't have... I mean, they don't have a sprinter. They don't have a sprinter or a sprint train, so that cuts out like 40% of races they'll probably do in the year. So, yeah, they don't have a Degenkolb line. They don't have a Kim Hajduk, is that sort of the person you're thinking, Benji, or someone like that, Maren Vandenberg. They just don't have that sort of rider coming through at the moment. They went for the hilly young talent. The young talent they have is hilly focused. But now on to their World Tour over. Oh no, we've got to pick their teams. Got to pick their teams first, Benji. Getting ahead of myself. For the classics, pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
It's all the Belgians, so I can just pick off all the Belgians in that list. Paris van Hoge. Apparently, is it Greg van Avermaet, or do they actually say Greg? I never know.
Greg van Avermaet.
Jesus. Jungels, Naesens, Stan de Wolf, Dorian Godon for some of them. That's about it, Benji.
Yeah, I also have Stan de Wolf, Van Avermaet, Oliver Naesen, Lawrence Naesen, Gijs van Hoeke, Dorian Godon. The rest of the squad, I would look into. I think those are the main names.
Yeah.
Venturini, perhaps. Cher, yeah, certainly fits
Yeah.
in that team as well. You're right. But when it comes to the Hill Classics, I think that honestly, this entire team preview podcast is going to be very similar when it comes to the team building than last year's, because the team hasn't changed too much. So it's very similar. But the only thing that we see is growth of riders. And then I think that the Hill Classics are leaning towards, I would put still Van Avermaet in Amstel. But for the others, I would start looking at the likes of a Paddy Panther, who did well at LBL this year, in the combination with Cosnefroy. And those would be the two leaders for me in the likes of a Flash Wallon and Liège-Bastogne-Liège. Vendrame discussed most recently in the media that he would like to have a chance in those type of races. A race like LBL fits him. So I would give him a free element role and fold into a domestique when it's necessary for the other riders. I would not be putting Van Avermaet in LBL or Flash.
I agree. Yeah, I would give Vendrame a chance in Amstel and LBL. Maybe not Flash, but yeah, he gets over hills no problem.
Yeah.
Like even bigger than hills. Cosnefroy is obviously a big man for Amstel, Brabants, and LBL. But yeah, they do have other options, like even a Champoussin. Like that was a
Yeah,
hard World at
certainly.
stage 20. So send Champoussin. I don't know. I think O'Connor will be focusing on stage racing rather than LBL. I don't know if he did it this year. There's one rider we haven't mentioned at all, Benji. He's 24 now. The Finn, Jarkko Hänninen, who came third in that stacked U23 road race won by Hirschi in 2018. And the list of that top 10, the talent there is just obscene what they've gone on to do. But he's not really kicked on this year.
Yeah, seems like he's become a bit stagnant. He was supportive of, I think, Paddy Panther in Critérium de Dauphiné. He seems to have been domestique role in the majority of the races he rode. And in all honesty, I don't really know where he's going. I can't put a specific place on it. It seems like he's just there at the moment and climbing in decently enough to be a supportive rider, but has not brought out a result that would tell me, okay, now I can become a leader in this area in the coming years. And yeah, some people are made to become leaders and some people are not. And at the moment, based on this year alone, I don't see it for Hänninen for leadership.
Now he's still got. I don't know if he extended after the Tour de Do fourth in 2019. He's signed till the end of
Yeah.
2024, so he's still got a lot of time left to progress. And he's 24, and they'll be hoping to see something from him. Giro. Now this is the tough one because obviously I think O'Connor could podium the Giro. The parkour is perfect for him. Not that much TT, not that much pure mountaintop finish. There's a lot of like stages with a hard climb like the Dauphiné, stage 8, and then a runoff afterwards. And that's where he won his Tour of the Alps stage. That's where he attacked and gained time in Dauphiné stage 8. But he's not going. Like, let's be real. O'Connor's not going to the Tour, not going to the Giro. He came fourth at the Tour, French team. He's going to go to the Tour de France.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Okay. When it comes to the Giro team, I would like to see Champoussin ride the Giro and the Tour all because he's won a stage in the Vuelta. Last year, we were hyping him up to win a stage on the Grand Tour, and he finally did it at the end of the Vuelta, so we were so happy to see that in a majestic way. And I'd like to see him try the same at the Giro and the Tour because I don't believe in a Grand Tour GC for Champoussin because his time trial is not there. And even the Giro, yes, he can get top 15 in Grand Tour, but I'd rather see him win a stage personally.
I would send Venturini, Vendrame. Nah, maybe not Venturini and Vendrame.
I'd put Vendrame in.
Yeah, Vendrame has to go, of course. Like, that's the law. But yeah, they got. I want to send Cosnefroy, honestly. Like Cosnefroy can take Malia Rosa, stage 1.
We've said that about 20 riders already, though.
Yeah, but no one will send them. Like this is what happens in the Giro, Benji. There were all these top tier punchers, and then none of them go. And then Diego Ulisi is like, "Thanks, I'll take my 50K bonus for winning another Giro stage for the year." Like, even though he's not a top 10 puncher, like it's anyway. I'd probably send Jungels, Benji.
It depends on his form. I don't know what to expect from him at the moment. And I think last year he was saying that he didn't want to go to the Cobble Classics and he was going to do other races, but then it didn't end up happening because of his injury. So I don't know what to expect from Jungels this year. I just hope that we see him in good form in whatever race he enters.
I kind of agree with Benji that they should just send a climbing stage hunting team like Vendrame, like Champoussin, APP, And if GVA or Bjungles want to do it, all the better. Maybe Jarkko Heinonen as well. Send them. And send Cosnefroy for the first stage if he doesn't win it.
4 years ago, we would have said Greg van Avermaet for that stage one.
Would I? Probably, yeah.
4 years ago.
I would have said Greg van Avermaet for a lot of Giro stages from the break. Like, can you imagine him in that Campenaerts and Riesebeck break? Like, he cleans it.
Yeah,
anyway,
certainly. Yeah.
Tour de France, O'Connor leader, Oliver Naesen will go as support, and they'll probably send Greg van Avermaet Benji as well, and
Cobble
probably
stage.
Cosnefroy. Would you send Cosnefroy?
I think that he will likely go because it's the Tour de France. It sounds so bad, but it's true in these kind of teams that the French aspect to it is so important, and that's why riders like Cosnefroy are more likely to go to the Tour de France. That's why I'd even say that Paret-Pentre might be going to the Tour de France, even though he did it last year. So this might be the year that he gets to do another one instead. When it comes to Nance Peteres, what stages has he won so far? The Giro and the Tour. So he needs that Vuelta España stage win. So he's going to the Vuelta.
They do not care about that. They'll be sending him to
Nance
the Tour.
Peteres does.
Nance Peteres don't get a choice. They're sending him to the Tour. I'm sending him to the Tour.
Who do you bring as support for O'Connor?
Look, firstly, as you said, some of the classics guys like De Wolf, Oliver Naesen, and Van Avermaet for that first week to keep him safe. I think they're going to send Cosnefroy. I really wouldn't. I wouldn't. They'll probably send. I don't know. You know, Geoffrey Bouchard's never done the Tour. He's done 2 Giros, 2 Vueltas.
And he's won the KOM of the Giro and the Vuelta, so this might be the time that he hunts for the KOM of the Tour.
Seriously, no, like that. I think he should, and he can be a bit of a dom for O'Connor on some stage. I think send Bouchard. He needs some. What about Lilian Calmejean? They'll probably send him as a domestique, surely.
I've got the feeling that Calmejean has somewhat stagnated over the years, and I feel like his Vuelta was good enough again. And then after the Vuelta, his results were good. So if he can sustain that same kind of level as he did as the Vuelta and the races afterwards, he can be a good supportive rider. But I liked his time at, was it Total Energy? Direct Energy it was called back then. When he was going for those attacks. And then he had cramps in the final few kilometers. That was fun, but it seems like we haven't seen that in a while. But I hope we can see Calmejean perhaps in breakaways at some point again. But if he goes to the Tour, then it needs to be supportive for O'Connor, I guess. Or, like, in all honesty, O'Connor got 4th in the Tour. What are the chances that he does that again? I don't see it high.
No, with the number of TT kilometers, and it's not likely, to be honest. Getting T5, I guess, is his goal. And I guess if you fill it up with, okay, Rog, Pog, Bernal, now it's a fight between Haig, Vlasov, or whoever, Boris and O'Connor. So I guess T5 is kind of realistic, Benji. Like, there's a steep drop-off between the Ineos, Jumbo, and UAE guys. Or then Jonas as a domestique will probably come T5, Benji.
I don't know what to expect from that aspect, but I agree. I think that T5 is difficult for O'Connor.
It's difficult.
Perhaps due to going in breakaways in the final week, he can move up in the similar way that he did, but luck is spared with that, and I think it will be difficult to get that luck 2 years in a row.
I'll be interested to see, do they send both Michael Scher and Godon, given that we've said they should send some flat guys like De Wolf. But yeah, that's sort of marginal stuff. Vuelta, we're going to send probably Calmejean and some Venturini. I'd like to see Venturini or Vendrame at the Vuelta, although Vendrame would probably do Italian Classics. And then, obviously, I'm going to send Paul Lepera, Raul and Valentin Paret-Pentre. It worked with Champoussin. Neo Pro first year 1 Vuelta stage. Repeat it.
Well, I wouldn't do it.
Benji's like Unzue. Benji's like, wait till they're 25 and they might be able to do a 1-week World Tour race.
No, I'd wait a year.
All 3 Grand Tours in the Neo Pro.
I'd wait a year. I feel like it is more important to hunt stages again. I would send the same stage hunters that you sent to the Giro to the Vuelta. And if we send Cosnefroy to the Giro and then we also send him to the Vuelta, he can try something on that less Pirates climb. If that's too difficult, then he can try stuff on other stages. But the only issue with the Vuelta this year is that it's not really Cosnefroy territory. when it comes to those hilly finishes. In the
True.
previous years, there were much more fitting Vueltas for a rider like him, and he was never really in that race. So yeah, I would just go for stage hunting at Giro and Vuelta, and I think they're going to try with O'Connor for GC in the Tour. I think he's going to fail, but I don't know.
I think T10 is like what they want. It's still something that's important to them as a French team, and having the best placed GC rider of any French team this year. As Benji said,
well, that's a cheat code. In the past, it was always important to get the top French rider. Now it's already the top rider on a French team. We're getting further and further.
Australian, so it's fine. I mean, Australia's just so stacked right now; it's ridiculous. Anyway, in terms of Healy riders, over under Benji World Tour wins 4.5.
Oof. How much did they have this year again?
4. But there were 3 Grand Tour stages, so it was high quality.
I think under.
I think under. But I think they'll be better at like .pro level this year. I think they'll be a bit better with like Champoussin and APP.
I think it's going to be similar.
Yeah.
I think they're just going to have a similar season.
I agree. With no sprinter, it's so hard to break like 8, 9 World Tour wins because then to win 8 or 9 World Tour wins, then you need to have either like an OP Classics guy or to win like Benelux stages or things like that, and plus like maybe a big one-day race, or you need to be winning really hilly stages. And then, okay, how many hilly stages go to the break? Because mostly they do not have riders that are good enough to win. They do not have riders good enough to win a mountain stage from the GC group, except O'Connor maybe on like a Dauphiné style 8 finish. So it's so hard to win a lot of World Tour races with this team construction, although they will be competitive at RVV and they will be good stage hunting. But stage hunting into Grand Tours, it's very variable. Like you look at Nans Pater's Benji, nothing this year, and then won a stage last year. But he might very well win a stage next year in a Grand Tour. We don't know. It's just variable. But any hot takes for AG2R Benji? Do you think? Let's see who's out of contract. They got Jungels coming out of contract, De Wolf, Champoussin, Hayes van Hoeke, Soro out of contract. Do you think they're gonna pick up a sprinter next year, or just still double down on what they're doing?
I'm not so sure that fits in their current philosophy, and it's difficult to already guess that. But when it comes to hot takes, I do want to say that I do not expect O'Connor to top 10 the Tour de France.
That's a hot take. I think he top 10s easily. Like Guillaume Martin, Godu is good, but yeah, top 10 is not that deep. He'll top 10 easily.
I hit you in the heart, didn't I?
Oh no, I just like T3 is so hard, so hard. Hot take T3 in Tour de France pretty hard to do. But the top 10, I don't think is. I think that's well within his grasp. My hot takes is that Van Avermaet, I think he wins RVV.
That's a very hot take.
I think GVA, yeah. I think his RVV and Classics not bad. And if they get it all together, which is a big if, I think Greg Van Avermaet wins Ronde van Vlaanderen. No MVDP, missing Spring Classics apparently.
Yeah, but on the other hand, Van Aert is actually peaking for the correct races this year. So
Van Aert's not good at public classics, straight up.
That's a hot take.
Can hide behind the let's see. We'll see now. We'll see. He's got all the domestics he could want, but Tej Benoit will probably drop him, and then Wout will call him back like he did with Sturven, and then there'll be all tears afterwards, like in World Champs when he cost Benoit the T3 at RVV.
Okay. Wow. I'm shocked. I'm brutally shocked. I want. It's not a hot take, but I want Paddy Panther to win a Grand Tour stage this year. Come on, Aurélien, go for a stage win, please. Do it for me.
I think it's a pretty hot take for a guy that's never won more than a .pro race, right? Oh, .1 race. That's a pretty hot take. I think. How do you have a hot take? Like, because what is this? What is this team? It's just like it's not a hot take to say they'll win a tour stage from a break. Like that's literally what they
Yeah,
target. In terms of, I don't know about Jungels, Benji. Like
we
whether he
can't guess anything from him, so like we don't
yeah.
know what his status is.
Yeah, I think O'Connor wins a tour stage from the GC group. That's one, but still doesn't come T5 in GC. I think Benoit Cosnefroy has a breakout year, and I think he wins 3 World Tour races, at least 3.
But at least 3, but they keep it under 4.5, right?
Fuck yeah, that's exactly, yeah. So you got GVA wins RVV, Cosnefroy 3. Oh yeah, O'Connor's 1. No, they can conflict, doesn't matter. And I think Vendrame wins Amstel Gold Race.
Okay, I'd love to see that. I love Vendrame.
He's not even attending, but now that I've said it, all right, that was AG2R Citroën team preview. I do think Bardet left Benji, and that we're seeing how they were going. Like they must have been thinking, Jesus, we've just had Bardet go out the door, our top 10 or our podium aspirational candidate French rider for GC at the Tour. They signed O'Connor initially on very low money, and they filled that gap. So they got to be happy with how this last year went. I think they've got a fair bit to be hopeful for with the progression of their younger French. They're not stars, but they are really good riders like Champussin and co. They got to hope GVA comes back a little bit better, and then that Jungels recovers from the injury. And I think they got a fair bit to be hopeful for this team.
I think so as well. I'm just looking forward to the rise of Aurélien Paré-Peintre getting that stage win in a Grand Tour for me, and I hope that he can. I hope that those riders like a Paré-Peintre, like a Peters, like a Champussin can just push their foot forward and be that extra more. I hope that the Stan de Wolf, like riders like Stan de Wolf at the age of 24 can make a move forward as well. He's already good at those 1.1 races and those 1.pro one-day classics, but I want to make him make the move in the top-level World Tour races, like an RVV, like an E3, those kind of races, because I think the guy has potential. So, I'm looking forward to see what this team delivers this year, and I hope they deliver a better result throughout the year than they did when it comes to their kit reveal.
I like the kit. So, that's where Benji and I will strongly disagree. I might even get one. I might even wear it on the pod.
Oh my God.
Stay tuned for that. All right. Thanks for listening as always, and we'll see you with the next one. Ciao.